Here now is Solutionaries.
This is Solutionaries, a show that highlights creative thinkers and doers working to get results, and in this episode, save lives. Let's go back to September 28th, 2022.
The eye wall and the extreme winds of a major hurricane are about to move onshore.
The ceiling was on the floor. The refrigerator had floated out and was put a hole in the bedroom wall.
Sabíamos a dónde ir, para dónde agarrar, si para arriba, si para allá, porque la lluvia, el viento, el agua.
I just said, I love you. I don't know if we're going to make it or not.
Hurricane Ian ripped through the state, downing power lines and pushing a 15-foot storm surge into southwest Florida. Drainage systems couldn't keep up with the rain, causing widespread flooding, which destroyed entire communities and claimed the lives of more than 100 people. So, is there a solution for preventing devastation like this in the future? It turns out about 20 miles northeast of Fort Myers, a neighborhood designed to be hurricane-proof was put to the test. We'll have that story a little later. First, though, a dangerous killer in our waters. Warm ocean water doesn't just fuel hurricanes, it also creates the right conditions for deadly microscopic creatures called Vibrio vulnificus. It's a rare species of so-called flesh-eating bacteria that thrives in shallow, warm coastal waters or contaminated shellfish. Now, so far in 2023, 5 people have died from it. In our freshwater, a different rare microscopic killer is lurking in our lakes, ponds, and rivers. It's commonly known as brain-eating amoeba, and only a handful of people have ever survived its infection. Solutionaries correspondent Eric Sandoval introduces us to one of those survivors and learn more about the only drug known to cure it.
It's a microscopic organism that quickly destroys brain tissue and can kill in just days.
So I'm surprised that there is no more of these tests done regionally in different parts of the U.S.
Time is of the essence.
It's like you having an airbag. Well, I don't need an airbag. I've never used an airbag. Well, when you get in a car accident, you're going to need that airbag.
At this point, if you can get a result in 5 hours when we had to wait 24 hours every day, it's amazing.
Hit subscribe and leave us a comment below.
In August of 2016, 16-year-old Sebastian DeLeon and his family traveled from South Florida
I took a nap in the car
to start what was supposed to be a fun vacation at Orlando's theme parks.
On Sunday, we were planning on having a pool day and watching the game and spend it with our family. And he woke up in the middle of the night complaining that he had a headache and it was strong.
I was on my side, and at that moment it felt like I was getting pushed into like the pillow. And then when I woke up, I just couldn't move. My body felt stiff. And that's when I told my mom, like, this is not normal.
So I just woke up my husband and told him, listen, we have to go to the urgency or the emergency room because this is not looking good.
They asked me had I been in fresh water. And that's when I told them that, yeah, I had.
Doctors immediately suspected that Sebastian may have contracted Naegleria fowleri, better known as the brain-eating amoeba, by swimming in a summer camp pond. It's a microscopic organism that quickly destroys brain tissue and can kill in just days.
Tell me about the moment they came out and told you what it was.
I still remember it, but at that moment, I felt like time stopped. The next words were, I want you to say your goodbyes because we're gonna put him in a coma. And we don't know if he's gonna wake up.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says this deadly amoeba can be found in any body of fresh water. It can infect humans if they get that water up their nose. Most reported infections happen in southern states where the climate is usually warmer, with most reported in Florida and Texas. But cases have also started to emerge as you move north, in states like Virginia, and as far as Minnesota.
It's a rare disease, and so you don't see it very often. We have two buildings. This building is used for manufacturing, all the manufacturing we have.
Todd McLaughlin is the CEO of Profounda Pharmaceuticals in Orlando.
So this is a lab where we do our quality testing.
Aside from creating their own brand of healthcare products,
this actually is the batch that just came in of the new Impavito.
Profounda is also the only U.S. distributor of Impavito.
Sebastian was the first patient ever to receive miltefosine or Impavito while still conscious.
The only drug,
there's the pill,
that kills this amoeba.
We got the call. I got the call from the hospital, then I got a call from the Florida Department of Health, and then I got a call from the CDC, all within the span of about 2 hours. We heard about it, and my son immediately hopped in the car in his pajamas, and because he didn't want to waste time, and got the drug and drove it directly to the hospital. And within 20 minutes, he was at the hospital with the drug, and that really, I think, is what helped Sebastian.
Sebastian became one of only 4 people to survive the brain-eating amoeba in the United States. He worked through months of physical therapy to relearn how to walk and even tie his shoes again.
So how much is it?
It's about $48,000 for the treatment for the month.
For a 30-day supply?
For the 28-day supply, correct.
But McLaughlin says patients will never pay more than $100. Despite that, and the fact that every minute counts when someone is infected, very few hospitals have Impavito in stock.
So why don't more hospitals just keep this on hand as a preventative?
So I'm going to answer that question in a different way. Is why do people keep it on hand? And the answer is because they've seen a case of it before. So they have cases so they can see it. Whereas, well, I've never seen that before, so therefore I don't need it. It's like you having an airbag. Well, I don't need an airbag. I've never used an airbag. Well, when you get in a car accident, you're going to need that airbag.
He was a handful, but he was our handful. He was very outgoing. He made friends very easily.
Jordan Smelsky's father, Stephen, believes his 11-year-old contracted this amoeba while swimming in hot springs during a family vacation to Costa Rica.
Saturday, he got sluggish in the afternoon. He started vomiting at like midnight on Saturday. We took him to the emergency room on Sunday, diagnosed him with viral meningitis. They admitted him to Children's. And Monday, he woke up, we thought he was going to be okay because he was in good spirits. On Monday, it's like God gives you those last few hours and you don't even know. We ordered the drug from the CDC and it arrived at 8 a.m. That was Wednesday morning. He died at 6:30 that morning.
Thank you for coming to the second PAM Summit. My name is Steve Smelsky. My wife Shelley and I would like to welcome you all here.
Stephen and Shelley Smelsky created the Jordan Smelsky Foundation for Amoeba Awareness, and they started annual amoeba summits featuring top doctors in the field.
And we shared information, and the next boy that came into the hospital was Sebastian DeLeon, and he lived.
Hey guys. Hi Sebastian.
Hello.
My name is Dr. Jose Alexander. I'm a medical microbiology and medical director for the microbiology department in AdventHealth.
After treating both Jordan and Sebastian, doctors at AdventHealth were concerned that the test to detect this deadly amoeba was taking too long to get results back. So Dr. Alexander and his team took it upon themselves to come up with a faster solution.
In the instrument, we are able to put the cartridge. We have a capability to put 6 in each side of the instrument.
Their tool, a PCR test, made more widely available during the COVID pandemic. It trims a wait time of nearly a week down to just hours.
And I say it's just putting together the recipe in a right way. So I'm surprised that there is no more of these tests done regionally in different parts of the U.S.
And you're hoping other hospitals sort of latch onto this and use it, right?
Yes.
This is a game changer, and if every hospital has the test available, they can check it themselves without sending the sample of CSF to the CDC in Atlanta.
Time is of the essence at this point. If you can get a result in five hours, when we had to wait 24 hours every day, it's amazing. The care that they took of my child, he wasn't an experiment. He was a human being being treated. And they were looking for solutions. They got involved in a human way, because we're human, but I am eternally grateful.
Summertime is prime time for these warm water amoebas and bacteria. So let's look at the basic things you and your family can do to avoid getting infected. 1, water and wounds do not mix. Florida health officials say if you have fresh cuts or scrapes, do not get in the water. They suggest wearing shoes to prevent cuts from rocks or shells. 2, avoid warm, fresh water when the weather has been hot with very little rain. 3, if you do get in the water, hold your nose or use nose clips before jumping in. And people who have a weakened immune system need to be especially careful. We posted all of these safety tips over on clickorlando.com. What does it take to build a hurricane-proof neighborhood? You can ask the people of Babcock Ranch who weathered Hurricane Ian from the comfort of their living rooms.
It felt sturdy the entire time.
How this growing neighborhood was able to keep the lights on while sustaining little to no damage. That's next.
Some of the damage was, almost indescribable.
Welcome back to Solutionaries. It is the third costliest cyclone to ever hit the United States, with damage estimates close to $113 billion. Hurricane Ian hit Florida with deadly winds, storm surge, and flooding. Many people with homes in Fort Myers and Sanibel Island were forced to start over. But one nearby town did particularly well. Residents weathered the storm with electricity, running water, even TV and internet. Solutionaries correspondent Vic Michelucci traveled to Southwest Florida to explore this so-called hurricane-proof community.
At no time during the storm did I ever feel like we were at risk. I mean, it felt sturdy the entire time.
The Category 4 hurricane just blew through here. And our recovery, literally, we were up and running the next day.
An example of how we should build future communities. Hurricane Ian collided with Southwest Florida. This monster hitting the coastline with sustained winds of 150 miles an hour. The powerful Category 4 storm would kill more than 100 Floridians. The aftermath, unbelievable, leaving nearly 3 million people without power in a wake of tens of billions of dollars in damage. While no two places down here are alike, one town, surrounded by destruction, seems to have fared better in the storm than anywhere else.
Hey, I'm Vic.
I'm Daryl.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We met the Treese family at their home in Babcock Ranch. It's a community about 20 miles northeast of Fort Myers. Ian came right through here.
I mean, you could hear the wind. You could definitely hear when things were hitting the house. But I will say that at no time during the storm did I ever feel like we were at risk. I mean, it felt sturdy the entire time.
And did you have power?
We did have power.
AC?
We had AC. He was working.
With 6 people under this roof and Winston the dog, school administrator Shannon Treese says they watched live weather forecasts, cooked dinner, even worked remote as neighboring communities were torn apart. Meanwhile, the Treeses only lost a few shingles and screens on their patio.
All around you, people have a very different scenario.
Yes, they do. It was heartbreaking. I'm not going to lie. It was hard. I'm going to get a little emotional probably because a lot of our staff at Babcock live outside of here. To see the devastation outside and start getting the phone calls from them that, my house is flooded, my house is gone. I went to my house and I just walked away from it. My house had 4 foot of water. All of those started happening really quickly after the storm. So we started really understanding at that point how fortunate we were to be here. And we have not taken that for granted.
We have been all over Southwest Florida reporting on the damage, looking at the hardest hit areas, which surround us. But here in Babcock Ranch, it looks like nothing ever happened. Doing this well in that big of a storm was no accident. It was part of Sid Kitson's decades-long plan.
My heart breaks, just breaks, for so many people, here in Southwest Florida. The destruction, the misery, that you see is just unimaginable. We have our own employees who have lost their homes and lost so many of their belongings. At the same time, you know, we at Babcock Ranch hopefully can give people hope. And the hope is that it can be done right. And all the people, the planners, the engineers, all the people that came together to make this possible at Babcock Ranch should be proud.
Kitson is a former NFL player who later became an eco-conscious developer, purchasing nearly 100,000 acres in Charlotte County. Most of that is now a nature preserve, but on 18,000 acres, he designed what he calls the country's first solar-powered, storm-resistant town.
So you have a property that is eco-friendly. It's now storm-tested. How do you keep it affordable when the price of building is just skyrocketing?
And I think there are a couple ways to look at that. If you look at Babcock Ranch today, a Category 4 hurricane just blew through here. And our recovery, literally, we were up and running the next day. And most of what we were doing is maybe replacing a few house shingles here and there, some signage.
Obviously, to power an entire town, you're going to need more than just a couple solar panels on roofs. You're going to need this, a solar farm. Yes, this is a couple miles from the center of Babcock Ranch. It's 900 acres of land with nearly 700,000 solar panels. He teamed up with utility company Florida Power and Light, harnessing the sun to generate 150 megawatts. It's a test site of sorts. Battery backups for cloudy days, still attached to the grid. But FPL says it was the underground infrastructure that kept everything working during the hurricane. In this town, you'll find no power lines. Those are often the first to go during a storm.
Do you want this to be the national model?
Yes, but you know, it's interesting. I'm very optimistic about what we can do in this country.
They released the plans in 2005, started construction on Earth Day in 2016. Babcock's team of scientists, engineers, and builders had a tough task when they designed the town, making a community less vulnerable to major storms. So Kitson chose land that was 30 feet above sea level, invested in stormwater drains everywhere, and built ponds to catch the water. The trees and shrubs here, native to Florida, so the ecosystem is naturally fitted for the weather. Every structure is built above code.
I do believe that there are going to be others out there that are going to look at Babcock Ranch and say, we can do it better. And I'm okay with that.
You're good with that?
I'm absolutely good with that.
This neighborhood of 5,000 is on pace to reach 50,000 within the next few years. Homes here are selling between $200,000 and into the millions, as Kitson adds townhomes, apartments, and rentals to make it more attainable.
All things considered, you did incredibly well.
We did incredibly well.
Back at the Treese house, things are normal. School is in session, homework is still due. But the family is now spending their free time volunteering in surrounding areas where people weren't so fortunate.
Is this the national example?
I think it's a pretty incredible example.
An example of how we should build future communities for a better relationship with Mother Earth.
Here on Solutionaries, we are always looking for solutions to tough issues affecting you, like exercising your legal rights if you're pulled over by police.
So they'll say, can I take a look in your trunk? And you, being unaware that they don't have a right to look in your trunk without a warrant, might say, no, I do not consent to a search. And then if they do it anyway, you've at least said that you didn't consent.
And the Solutionaries working to make sure children have a safe place to call home.
A lot of times there's a church, on the street, and maybe 4 doors down, there's a family that's in need, and the two don't know about each other. So Care Portal connects those things to try to bring support to families so that they don't have to have their children go into foster care.
It's all free on the new 6 Plus app for your smart TV. Just download it and start watching. Take care.